In verse 23, in that last part of the sentence, and Noah only was left and they were with him in the ark, that word left is actually a Hebrew word meaning to be left over. They were left over, i.e. to survive. And it's used later on in the biblical text for a remnant that escapes judgment. Fast forward to what Christianity is. There is no judgment in Christ. And when you are in Christ, you do not stand before the great throne room of God in judgment. You stand before the bema seat of Christ, which is the reward seat of Christ. A Christian has already passed through judgment because the judgment has been levied on Christ, and I stand in Christ. He's received the judgment. Anybody outside of Christ stands before the great throne room judgment of God, and they would have to deal with whatever they deal with. It's a remnant being extrapolated out, a group that escapes judgment. So I think that that's a lovely foreshadowing of what the atoning sacrifice of Jesus and what it does for those who step into faith and relationship with it.
Interesting. There's a great film by Darren Aronofsky called Pi. There's this guy who keeps seeing numbers, and someone says to him, "You'll be counting the steps from your door to the shop and seeing things in it." So I understand that some people won't see things in certain numbers. I've got a semi-interest in numerology, and 150 is a special number, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Hebrews, Christians will see it differently. But for New Age thinking, it's interesting that it's a sign of abundance. And the number will often appear to people if you have to make an important decision of the future. It's a reminder to stay focused on your goals and trust that the universal God will provide. And I just find that seems to fit in so well with the end of chapter 7, because isn't that not saying the same thing, although it actually ends that the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Not 130, not 149, 152, it's 150.
When you divide that 150 by whatever numbers will divide into it, and you were to look at each of those numbers by what it divides by, you'll probably find that there's something in that as well. So again, there's depth in that. There's not just depth in the waters that prevail, but there's depth in the numbers as well. And the prevailing over here, in that last verse there in verse 24, the prevailing over suggests that whatever was unleashed in terms of the chaos monster was stronger than the earth. It prevailed over it. The earth was no match for everything returning back to chaos.
When you say chaos monster, you mean the flood?
Just a term, the chaos monster, the flood.
It's perfectly fine. Now, the chaos monster or chaos element, you're not saying it's due to God, or are you?
I'm saying that there's a natural order of things that's been set up, and God allows that natural order to do what that natural order does unless it's under check. I don't think God is the cause of all of this. He just allows it to happen because he has morally sufficient reason to do so.
So that's the end of chapter 7.
Gosh, we're up to chapter 8 now. Woohoo!
And we've only got 2 more chapters to stay with Noah. He's going to be hanging around a long time, isn't he?
There's some funky stuff that goes on with Noah now, though, isn't there? He gets up into all sorts of mischief.